Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Mike, and me, Sean. Thank you all for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, doing okay. Turtle?
Tired. I did some running around today. Today was my day off as of the recording. I had some things to take care of, but I took care of them in a professional manner.
Turtle taking care of business.
Every day.
You never get to relax on your day off, though.
If I'm not running around, I'm editing for the podcast, so I don't get to relax. But it's a labor of love.
Well, that's fantastic. I did something this weekend that I thought would be kind of interesting. I know sometimes we start our podcast by chatting about our other interests and things we've done over the past week or two. And I went to a Warhammer 40K painting party where we got about six of us together and just sat around painting Warhammer 40K miniatures. Now, if you don't know what Warhammer 40K is, then gosh, where do you even start? The lore, it has incredibly deep lore. It takes place in the year 40,000. It's like sci-fi miniatures game where you buy these little miniatures and then you paint them. And then you put them on the table and using rules and then like rolling dice and using actual measuring tape to move your miniatures around. Uh, they do battle on a tabletop. It's pretty wild, but it's a pretty good time. The problem is that I hate painting them. I wish I could say that I enjoyed the hobby that much. I think that the battle on the table is fun. Putting them together and gluing them together is fun. Even making the bases, it's almost like a little diorama. But actually, like painting the miniature itself, and some people are kind of snobby about the paint job. You know what I mean? Like if you don't do a good enough job, people will notice and they might say something. So you're like always afraid that like if it's not up to a minimum standard, at least, someone's going to be unkind to you when when evaluating your miniatures. So the point is, I have like 30 miniatures, and I think two are painted. So I have a long way to go.
I do not have a steady enough hand to paint figures of that size. They're typically on the smaller size, and there are some larger ones for sure. But yeah, I don't have a steady hand for painting. That's not something that I can do. So I feel for you. That's why I don't do it.
I also don't have a steady hand. That's why I refuse to paint. Like during COVID, I'm like, I was like looking for new hobbies, and I found this kit on Amazon. It was like a tutorial of how to how to paint miniatures. I'm like, oh, I'll get that. That'd be a fun like COVID hobby. Got it in, and didn't even attempt to paint one.
They're small.
Yeah, too small for my hands.
Yeah, because even like not even 40K, but there's a lot of other miniatures tabletop wargaming. There are a bunch of tables like there's Warhammer, like the fantasy one, Age of Sigmar. There's Malifaux is another. There are ones. There's another one with War in it, War Machine or something like that. I can't remember. Uh, yeah, but the point is that there are multiple mini wargaming avenues, and there's also just Dungeons and Dragons. If you want to paint, you're in a campaign. It's a long campaign. You find the perfect miniature, but it's not painted. Uh, you could buy that miniature and you could paint it up yourself.
I did that for our last D&D session. I bought a miniature online. I really liked it, and I had a friend paint it. He did a great job, and it was a monk character. So he was on the base with one foot, other foot in the air, like in crane position, and he was holding a fireball. Looked really great, and then his ankle snapped.
Mm.
So then my buddy who painted it, put a metal rod through his ankle and glued him back together, and then it snapped again. So this poor guy has broken his ankle twice. He's in the box. He's retired. He can't handle it. Weak ankles. They'll get you every time.
There's one of the problems with miniatures. Some of them are, depending on the company, 40K ones are pretty sturdy from my experience, but accidents happen, and I don't know, you hear stories about like someone's big dog runs up and grabs a miniature with it, with its mouth and runs away with it. There's stories like that, and man, those minis aren't cheap. Let me tell you. I wanted to buy a box of these three big miniatures. My army is the Adepta Sororitas, which is also known as the Sisters of Battle. And if you go further back, and they have these really cool new minis where it's they're almost like in little mech suits. And I wanted those, and I think to get those, man, it was going to cost me $70. And I'm like, man, $70 for like three little miniatures is just really hard to justify when I have so many other expenses.
Yeah, I get that. I never really collected the minis, but I did play the RTS Dawn of War, so I'm at least familiar with the different parties. I was always partial to the chaos because they're crazy.
I was gonna say that is one hobby I'm glad I never got into is the miniature war game like games. Just it's a it looks like it's a pain in the ass to like store, and it's not the cheapest hobby either. Like I'm glad I stopped at card games and board games.
Well, sometimes you just fall in with the wrong crowd, you know. That's what happened to me. I fell in with the wrong crowd. They convinced me to play trading card games and wargaming. You think I was you? By the way, the way I talk on here, like people think I'm wealthy because they're like, he plays 40K, he plays, trading. He talks about trading card games all the time, and I'm like, no. I wish I was like a Bitcoin bro who made a bunch of money over COVID, but I did not. I just don't always wisely spend.
I've had to well, I wouldn't, I shouldn't say I've had to, but I'm choosing to stop most of my hobby expenses because I'm trying to save for a house, and houses cost a lot of money. So I am out of card games for the moment. Sadly, makes me sad, but so I definitely understand. The expenses. I've had to rein myself in and stop myself on several occasions. Like, nope, don't do it. House, think house.
That's good discipline, Turtle.
It's a struggle every day.
My problem is that I own a house.
You've already crossed that hurdle.
Yeah, so and my mortgage is pretty affordable, to say the least.
I got my house whenever the interest rates weren't absolutely insane, so it's like, this is great. I'm not getting murdered for like 7% interest rates.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that those are going to come down as I'm in the saving phase. I'm not looking yet. I'm still saving. So hopefully they'll come down for me when I'm ready.
Oh, we get to talk about other things that I know about. Interest rates. If interest rates go down this year, won't be until the second half of the year. Honestly, late Q3 or Q4 are probably when they're going to happen. Um,
Well,
but
I won't be ready this year. I need some more time.
that's all right. You're getting the listeners are getting a peek into my profession. But anyway, uh, yeah, so it's fun to share with everyone what's going on at 40K. But let's get down to why we're really here. Solo leveling.
Woo, let's talk some anime.
Not co-op leveling, solo leveling.
That does remind me before we get started. I do think about how the show could have been if like all six of those people would have stuck around and all got the system. You know what I'm saying?
Yup. Like, how much different would the show have been if even just one person stuck around with Jin? Like, would the system have been given to both of them? Would they have had to fight each other to figure out who, like, would it had to be a battle royale on who got the system? Would the system have even, like, came into play?
Would it be called group leveling?
Competitive leveling?
Individual improvements?
And I think we would have seen some of those six people like have like the penalty for not completing your daily quests. Someone probably would have gotten killed by the centipede, or someone would have gone to their instance dungeon and never returned. That kind of stuff, right? So, um, I think it would have been more fun. I think it would have been really fun if a lot of people ended up with the system, but some of them just kind of flunked out of it, I guess. But I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to the episode. Episode 7. Let's see how far I can go. I think this is the first episode where they actually just play the opening theme. the start of the episode. Not that I have a strong feeling one way or another, but it's kind of nice. Sometimes these episodes they'll put like 15 seconds of dialogue before the opening starts. I'm like, at this point, just play the opening of the show. So I'm cool with that. Our first scene begins with the Hunters Association surveillance team manager, Jin Chul Woo, and Tai Shi Kong are having a discussion about something Jin Chul Woo found in the news. It's the story of the last episode. The focus here is that Jin Woo is one of the survivors. A side note was that one of the deaths was Wang Dong Suk. It's revealed that his little brother's name is Wang Dong Su. Dong Suk, Dong Su. Those names are a little too close. This appears to be a significant event.
I wonder if this is the start of the HSA realizing there is more to Jinwoo than they thought.
Wait, what's HSA?
Hunter or oh HS man, it's HAS, not HSA. I was
Oh
I
my
was
god.
hoping to I was hoping to make a funny like house rep. It's Hunters Association surveillance team.
Yeah, I'm like, what, the health savings account?
Yeah. Don't even get me started on that health benefit. I hate those things.
I was gonna say, I'm sure anyone listening to this at like age 14 or 15 is like, what the heck are they talking about? But anyone who's like a working professional is like, yeah, I know about the HSA. Still better than the HOA, the homeowners association, but
Yep.
we won't talk about them. I have the HOA. Anyway, back at the Song household, Gina is welcoming Jinu home. He brought fried chicken and a beer named Green Grain Gulp. Under the logo on the can, it says Meadow Malts. Will this be Mike's beer of the week? Probably not. Not gonna lie though, I'd drink it. If they have chicken and beer, it must mean that the raid went well. Gina says you must have had a strong party. This makes Ginny reflect on what happened during the raid. She says, "I bet you beat the bad guys easily." Ginny reflects some more. In his head, he thinks everything about that moment was easy, and Juno resented them for even thinking they were in his league. And we're starting to see Juno process these feelings here. While lost in thought, he starts spilling his beer on his pants, and Gina snaps him back to reality. Juno says that he needs to remember that he's doing this for his family, and that whoever tries to stop him will be just as dead.
Sean, it's funny you should mention that for Mike's beer of the week because I totally had the same thought. It's like, huh, I wonder if I could find this beer, and if so, would I make it part of my beer of the week? And then I'm like, this is probably like there's the universe's version of like light beer if it's being paired with takeout fried chicken though.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing.
It's also the worst feeling when you crack open a beer and it's overly carbonated and it just like starts foaming everywhere and spills on you and just a terrible feeling. It's a waste of good beer.
Makes a big old mess.
It does. And everything gets sticky. Also, did anyone else find it weird that Gina didn't really stop to wonder how Jinu got the money?
Yeah, for being an E rank, he seems to be splurging on the chicken and beer here.
Well, she did say though. She said, the raid must have gone well, right? Or did she say something? Did she say something like that?
Something like that, but like I wonder if she knew the financial like how much she would have got from the raid or if it was just if she just assumed, "Oh, you were like went on an E level hunt."
She definitely seemed to imply that this is abnormal. You know, like, oh, it must have went really well. You're bringing in food. You're saying that everything's taken care of. So it definitely seems like this is a unique scenario where he doesn't bring this much home usually.
As Junu sips his beer, a notification box pops up. It says, "A harmful substance has been detected." He gets a timer, and then he glows. He says, "Detox?" Then stands up. Gina asks if she can have the rest, and Jinu shames her for eating. He says, in quotes, "Sure, but don't cry to me when you put on weight." End quote. Jinu's a real villain. You can't just say that to a woman. Good gosh.
Heel turn. The heel turn has started.
Then again, none of us have sisters, and maybe brothers are just that way to their sisters sometimes. I don't know. In his room, he pounds 5 beers and doesn't even feel a buzz. A notification screen appears. He got rewards for secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Weak spelled Weak, not like Courage of the Week.
It's our new segment, the courage
Yeah,
of the week
yeah. To go along with Mike's beer of the week,
and the waifu of the week.
Mike's liquid courage of the week. It's a long-lasting buff called Health and Longevity. Immunity disables toxic and abnormal conditions. It also just gives him improved regenerative capacity. The system just hands out rewards like candy. Like they they just like they just want to make this dude OP as possible. Um, at the bottom, we have a very interesting piece of text that I noticed. The great spellcaster Kondiaru has gifted you with a special blessing. With Kondiaru's blessing, you may enjoy a strong and healthy life. This was the reward for completing the double dungeon at the beginning of the series. I guess he never claimed it. My only question is, who the heck is Candiaru?
When the detox pop up first popped up, I thought Jinwoo he was going to take a penalty for drinking beer. It's like, oh, that's just cruel.
His stats start going down.
It's like, oh, you're not allowed to have a beer. Sorry, penalty. Chased by giant centipede.
Just as bad though. He can't even enjoy beer.
That's true.
Drinks and it's just gone.
It sort of reminds me of the Flash TV show of the newer one, where the Grant Gustin when the Flash character like he would go out to the bar with everyone and he would drink and he would because of his super speed he would never get buzzed. So they like built like like created a little serum for him to drink to actually like replicate being drunk if he wanted to be drunk while out and about with friends.
I never watched that show. That's kind of interesting.
I did. The first few seasons are actually like pretty good, especially the
Yeah,
first season.
it definitely started getting very repetitive. I never started watched the last season of the show.
Yeah, once you got to like season like 4 or 5, and I didn't realize they had how many seasons they had they had something like seven,
I want
eight,
to
or
say
nine
7 or
seasons,
yeah.
and I was like, what the heck? That's way too many seasons for a show like that.
And it was always okay, here's the rival speedster. It's like how many times can we do the same like here's the rival speedster, here's the rival speedster. I mean, honestly, they should have just whenever Arrow wrapped, they should have just wrapped the entire universe.
Yeah, when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever,
Yep.
right? Maybe give all the shows one more season,
Yeah.
like just so they can wrap up their own personal storylines, and then just call it. But well, you got to milk the cash cow, right? If you're
Yep.
still making ad revenue, you got to keep printing episodes.
That's true. And then getting back to solo leveling, I wonder if Candiaru is the person who built the double dungeon to pass the system on to.
What if the Candiaru built the system?
That is another potential theory.
See, my thought was that Candiaru might have been the smiling statue. That was my, like that, because that's supposed to be a god, kind of. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, is that like that god? Is it Candiaru? But these are all pretty good takes, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good option too. The questions. We need answers.
Junior drifts off to sleep, but is woken up by his sister. He received a call from Jinho Yu, our buddy from the last episode. They meet in a cafe. Jinhu said, I never thought I'd see you again. And me, like Sean, honestly thought the same. I thought they just gotta be like, okay, next. I thought it was just some guy we know for 2 episodes and would just disappear. But they reflect on their time in the dungeon, and Jinho is happy to keep Jinu's secret out of respect for him. Jinho reveals that he'd like to put together a strike team. Jinu immediately says no, but Jinho just asks for 19 more raids. That's all I need. This is so Jinho can become a guild master. Apparently, the rules state that you need at least 20 raids worth of experience to become a guild master, and Jinu decides to hear him out. He has one down. He wants Jinu's help with the other 19. There's a written test, but he's confident that he can pass that. No problem. Jinho is the second son of the CEO of Yujin Construction. This is actually for the company. Like the company is going to make their own guild, and they're expecting to become an incredibly lucrative deal. Hunting is going real corporate here. They want to hire an S rank to be the face of the guild, but there are only 7 in the country, and they're all hired or retired already. They could poach one, but it would be difficult. Jinho believes that finding success with lower level people will convince his father that he's qualified. He also thinks Jinu is a B rank or higher at his current power level. Jinho slides Jinu a folder, or it might have been a tablet. It was kind of hard to tell. Within is a picture of a piece of prime real estate that is going to be used as the guild headquarters. It's appraised for $30 billion and will keep going up. Complete 19 raids, and it's Genu's for the keeping. Genu says, no deal! $30 billion is chump change. And if he can go to S rank or beyond, he's going to make so much more than that. Jinho has one more plea. Work with Jinho, and he swears he'll take his secret to the grave. Jinho gives him a scary look, as if he was going to send him to the grave right then and there. Jinho just accepts it. He lost, and Jinho walks away.
Maybe I'm just being jaded, but I don't like the idea of companies owning hunter guilds. Like, I can just see it easily becoming, use my company or I'm not closing the dungeon portal.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's maybe some ulterior motives for the construction company to move into this kind of business.
Yeah, well, I guess they're gonna explain it a little bit later. I'm sure it's like the true all of the rationale behind it. I personally can see it. Like it makes sense logically why the guild forming would go corporate. Um, but yeah, we'll get to that later. We flash to a new character. It's Wang Dong-su, brother of Wang Dong-suk. Wang Dong-su wants details on the 2 survivors, Jinho and Jinu. He seems quite unhappy. He asks about the laws for committing murder abroad.
Not hiding his intentions at all.
Nope.
At least we as the viewer know what his intentions are, right?
It's like, oh, can we make sure they have like a happy little accident while they're overseas or something?
I love the reaction from his assistant. She's like, "What? Are you serious?"
And she gives him the talk about how extradition laws work. Wang Dong-su says, "Clear my schedule."
I'm a go a killing.
And she's like, sudden changes could affect the guild negatively. And he's like, well, hold up, how far out am I booked? And she's like, you have no available time in the immediate future. And he says, all right, we'll pencil it in.
6 months. Murder 2 boys.
He says their names out loud, crushes the tablet he was holding, and says they better stay alive till he has the time to deal with them, as one of his eyes glows red for the scary effect.
It's a family trait, the glowing red eyes.
Nobody else better kill you before I get a chance to kill you. Also, this man hates mobile technology. The scene that like the scene begins and he crushes his phone. The scene ends and he crushes his tablet.
He just asked the secretary to get him a new one.
And we can see if this guy's an S rank hunter. I think he's S rank. What did they say? He's either A or S. So he's either an A or S rank hunter, and yeah, I guess he can afford it. The Song siblings are going for a run. Jinu again makes fun of her for eating fried chicken that he brought her, and then he asks her if they have $30 billion. Well, he says, "What would you do if you had $30 billion?" And she says they'd pay for their mom's bills, and pay for college, and I don't know, save the rest. Since it's so unrealistic, Gina just can't think about it properly. That's BS, by the way, because I think about what happened if I won the lottery all the time. I do a lot of stuff. Ginu speeds ahead and finishes his 10-kilometer run. Wait a minute, he ran a little extra. The screen says 11 out of 10. It's tracking past the max? Gino wonders what would happen if he just kept going. So he decides to double all of his daily training goals and completes a secret quest. There's a full recovery, 10 ability points, and a choice. Blessed random loot box and cursed random loot box. G makes kind of like the obvious choice and picks the blessed random loot box because it just sounds better than the cursed one. Inside is another key item, the Demon Castle's key, S rank acquisition difficulty. A key to enter dungeon, the Demon's Castle. It can be used at Daisung Tower at Songpa-gu. In the Demon King's Castle, you can obtain the ingredients for what they call the Elixir of Life, which is really funny because me and another friend often call the drink Cherokee Red the Elixir of Life. So this just
Hey.
cracks me up thinking this dude's going to the Demon's Castle for like a fridge pack of Cherokee Red.
All he had to do was go to the store. It's right there.
Right there, man.
Just go to John Eagle.
The Elixir of Life cures all illnesses with powerful magic. Wait a minute, can this item cure their mom? He decides he has to go immediately. He goes where he needs to and opens the gate. It's time to face an S rank dungeon.
When Jinu and Gina were talking about having $30 billion, it very much felt like a what would you do if you hit the jackpot on a lottery discussion. Like, it's so odds are so low for it happening, so it doesn't feel realistic, but it's like we need to plan for this just in case this very small chance actually happens for us.
Yeah, I think about the lottery thing all the time. I'm just saying that the Anime Banter podcast might need a billboard somewhere. You know what I mean? Like Times Square? Times Square?
I like it.
Sponsor the World Series or the Super Bowl.
There we go. We'll get our own commercial.
30-second ad during the Super Bowl.
Do you like anime?
Buy our own esports team.
Oh, there we go.
I think there's a little more overlap in esports and anime than there is baseball in anime. Yeah, but who cares? I have lottery money.
Exactly.
Exactly. Our names will be out there.
Whether we want them to be or not. I mean, that's why we're doing the podcast. Share with your friends and family now.
Yes.
Do it. You won't do it. Do it.
Do it. I was also wondering if the 11 out of 10 on the run was just a mess up on the animation. Because we've seen that before where like the title was equipped and then in the next scene it wasn't equipped. So we've seen some continuity errors before. But it was really cool that it was an actual plot point.
Yeah, I don't think there's typically a lot of games that will let you exceed whatever the limit is on something. So that was kind of interesting. Like, oh, I can exceed the limit, and it's keeping track of that. How far can I push that?
Usually when you exceed the limit, you get a limit break.
Overkill.
I wonder what the reward would have been had he chosen the curse box. Would it have been like if the blessed box was elixir of life, was the curse box elixir of death? And like something he could have used to just kill anyone?
It's a really good point, actually. It could have been a poison that could kill anyone or something like that. Yeah, I hadn't really given it any thought. Like I just thought, yeah, no way to know. But that's a good logic right there.
Insta kill like an S rank boss and just get all these levels.
Would be something.
The world will never know because he picked the other one.
And as the result of that, he enters the dungeon, and it looks like hell, like the actual place, as described in various forms of media. A three-headed dog that reminds me of Cerberus, guarding the gates to the underworld, appears, and it gives a loud roar. Juno begins the fight immediately. The system flashes the title Wolf Assassin, and he activates Dash. He activates Murderous Intent, and the debuff is cancelled. He stabs Cerberus with his special dagger, but it's also immune to the paralysis and drain abilities. Cerberus bites Juno and flings him far away. He's losing HP at an alarming rate. Oh yeah, he's also missing an arm now. Fun. The Cerberus doubles his stats with an ability called Rage. Juno uses a full recovery and gets to stabbing. Unfortunately, it doesn't last long. Jinu's getting absolutely brutalized. A skill called Willpower goes off that has him take 50% less damage when having 30% less HP. When did he get this one? I don't know. What do you guys think of the fight so far?
So a couple things. I really enjoyed the flashback to the dungeon fight from the very first episode, and then loving the look of the Cerberus. Jinnu and missing limbs go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, that's just mean.
I mean, dude gets his ass kicked and loses limbs. It's what happens all the time.
We're in episode 7, and I think he's had a missing limb during parts of at least I'm trying to remember. Did he only lose limbs in episode 2? Or was he
Yeah,
also missing limbs in episode 1?
I think only two because at
Yeah,
that point the statues weren't really activated yet in one.
Yeah. And then I guess by episode 3 you had it back. Okay. Well, it's only 2 episodes, but it feels like a lot.
It's it's a weird like that it's happened that many times in so short of amount of time. I wonder if he's always had the willpower skill, but it only appeared because his health got so low. Like it was almost like a locked ability, and it's like, hey, you need to get your ass kicked enough for this ability to unlock.
that's very possible.
It's the first time we've seen his health dip into the red.
I kind of feel like this is just a convenience thing, but at the same time, like you said, we haven't really seen him take this much damage before since he's gotten the system. So the first couple episodes of him having the system and he starts to level up, he just didn't take this much damage. So maybe he's always had it, but I just feel like it has only appeared because he needs it now. That's kind of what it seems like to me.
He is absolutely getting his ass kicked. Like this fight is so one-sided, it's not even funny. And like I think I like did he really think he could handle an S rank dungeon on his own? Like I know he's been leveling up a lot, but like that's still like, oh, I'll start with an E dungeon, yay! Oh, I'll do a C dungeon and murder the other party, and then just completely skips B and A level dungeons and goes straight to S by himself.
It kind of reminds me of like RPGs though, especially like older ones, like the first Dragon Quest, great example. You cross the wrong bridge before you're ready, you're getting crushed.
Jinu runs and hides. The system is trying to keep Jinu alive. He considers using the teleportation stone to leave, but Cerberus finds him and attacks. Jinu loses his grip and drops the teleportation stone. Has that happened before?
I don't
Where he
think
drops
so.
teleportation?
I don't think he's
No, no,
ever
that
had I don't think he's ever used it, like even brought out the teleportation stone before.
yeah, I don't know. It just seems like very, very plot convenient that he drops the teleportation stone. Set the stakes high, right? While trying to hide again, Junior remembers that he has a shop, and I guess he's leveled up enough that he can actually use it. He buys a few healing potions, but they only heal 100 HP out of his over 3,600 HP. He remembers that Kasuka's venom gland poison. He also remembers that his body purifies poison. He drinks the poison, he loses the debuff, but he gains the buff. Cerberus finds Genu, but the Cerberus buff called Rage wears off. Genu goes to town on the stabbing. After they both fly off a cliff, Geno has less than 200 HP left. He keeps stabbing Cerberus in the eye on repeat until the battle is over. Geno is victorious. He levels up a few times and gets the notification that he's defeated Hell's Gatekeeper Cerberus. It dropped a key to the castle, a fang, and a collar. He gets the recipe for the elixir of life. It requires 3 items that can only be found in the demon's castle. He has 0 of 3 currently. That fight has helped him gauge his limits. He knows that if he goes into that castle, he will die. So he'll get stronger and come back later. Roll credits.
I was wondering when we would see the shop pop back up. Like it's like it made it its appearance in episode 3. He wasn't leveled high enough, and then it just like disappeared. And then the only potion he could buy with all the grinding he's done are like the basic ass potions that heal only 100 HP.
Yeah, the shop seems kind of useless right now. Why did they, why did the system prevent him from using the shop until now? because those potions are not real good.
And they weren't real cheap either.
No, like what is the point of this shop? It's terrible.
I mean, he does get a daily full restore, so I guess there's not really a reason to go shopping, but still.
Yeah, I mean, you figure like you complete your daily quests, and if you just stockpile those full restores, they're way better than a potion that heals 100 HP. That's lame.
Also, did anyone else notice that Jinu's arm was back already after being not there in the previous scene?
The full restore.
Yeah, I guess so.
You get your arm back with the full restore.
Yeah, it must be nice to just get it back.
You would have thought maybe it'd be like a slow grow, like a slow growth of the arm, not just like, oh, it's back.
Like from the Deadpool movies where you got to grow it back. It's baby hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I was also thinking of the Deadpool movie.
Like, I was totally expecting Jinu to survive with only 1 HP left. Because it's such a trope.
That's true.
Oh, tough fight, you have 1 HP left. But you did it.
All right, guys, I'm gonna complain.
Uh-oh,
Here we
it's
go.
time
Are
for
you
a
gonna...
ranter?
Nah, I don't think it's ranter worthy.
Oh, are you
But I
sure?
just don't think that Genu should have been able to win this fight,
Yeah.
especially because like all the magic from his like weapon went away. So like he didn't even get like the extra. I was like, oh, if you get the drain effect a bunch of times, maybe that helps. But like the drain effect wasn't even on. He just stabbed it in the eye a bunch of times, and I'm like, I don't. I played video games, and when you face that enemy that is higher level than you, even if you hit their weak spot, uh, you still got hit it a lot of times. I don't think Genu hit it enough times. I mean, this monster obviously wasn't very strong because the amount of times he stabbed that monster in the eye versus like how many times Genu just got launched halfway across like the dungeon, it doesn't add up. Like the Cerberus destroyed Genu for most of this fight. And he gets like, yeah, 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 right in the eye like 4 times. And he's like, oh, yeah, I won. I'm so cool. And I'm like, isn't this supposed to be like an S rank type of dungeon? Like, this thing should have been able to take more than 3 hits. I don't know. It's just, he's, Juno has that plot armor.
Yeah, for this one in particular, I would agree. I mean, you could even say, well, maybe the Cerberus is only like a B level monster, and then as you get into the castle, you'll get to the higher ones. But I still think this. I agree with you. I think he should not have won this as I don't know, quote unquote, easily as he did. Because you go back to video game logic, like you said, if you fight a boss that's like way above you, even if you're wailing on the weak spot, you're not doing as much damage as you could be, and it's going to do a lot more damage to you, and you just typically don't win those fights. So I don't know. It was a cool fight. I think it was animated pretty well, but I just don't think he should have won quite as quickly as he did with this.
And to me, that's the flaw. That's the
Yeah.
flaw of the rank system and like power levels, right? Because when you play these games and you watch these shows, every good one goes back to like a Dragon Ball Z type of power ranking system, right? There's
Yeah.
always you use the scouter, what's the power level, right? And if you are below that power level, typically you just can't win.
I wasn't the hugest fan of the fight just because it was so one sided each way. Like, start of the fight, Jinu was getting his ass kicked. End of the fight, Cerberus got his ass kicked. Like, there really wasn't a lot of drama or back and forth to it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a bad fight, but it was maybe a little disappointing. But hey, maybe we'll drink to forget. You're up, Mike.
You know what they say, alcohol's the best medicine, and that means it's time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Rusty Rail, and it is their Mon Monster, an 8% Imperial IPA with great can art and a nice citrus profile. The can is a view of the Pittsburgh city skyline with like an iguana looking monster coming out of one of the rivers. I really don't have much to say about this beer besides that I really enjoyed it. But it seems like other people on Untapped either really love this beer or they really hate it. and like I've people on my friends list, they were either give it a 4 or they would give it like half a star. Uh, so I really enjoyed it. I'm a big Imperial IPA fan, so right up my alley. Awesome can art. The untapped average rating is a 3.83, and I give it a 4.
In between episodes 7 and 8, there's a recap episode. Um, why do we need a recap for 7 episodes of a show? I don't know. We're skipping that nonsense and going straight to episode 8. This is frustrating.
What is frustrating is a recap episode after 7 episodes.
I hate recap episodes, period. I don't think they're necessary. Go back and rewatch it if you forgot. Don't give me a recap.
I want to make it clear to the listeners here that this is frustrating was not how I felt. It's actually the name of the episode. I just want people to know. I just said episode 8. This is frustrating, and I'm like, I'm not bummed out on the series, guys. I'm just, that's the name of the episode. That's all. We open with Genu sitting beside his mother at the hospital. He's staring at the elixir of life formula. He recaps the details of it. It can heal any disease, has 3 ingredients. Those ingredients are found in the demon's castle. Going back to the castle now is a death wish. He needs more time to level up. He needs to get stronger. Cue the opening.
Jinu needs to recap the recap episode. But anyone else feel like there's a catch to this elixir of life? Like it's almost too good to be true?
Well, these items are going to be locked behind, S tier dungeons he's going to have to get through. So it's going to be rough to get these items.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. I don't think that there's going to be like a stipulation on the elixir of life. I think the stipulation is just like going through a ridiculously powerful set of enemies to get the ingredients. So I think that's the stipulation, and not like the elixir of life trades one person's life for another or something like that.
Yeah, but what if whenever he clears that dungeon, it unleashes an even bigger, badder villain?
Interesting.
Anything could happen.
And looks like Jinnu is going to have to reconsider Jinho's offer.
Well, yeah, Jinho needs to level up, and he needs to level up fast. He meets Jinho and tells him he's going to accept his deal to complete the 19 C rank dungeons. There's a stipulation though, no strike team, only those 2 go in. They can't do it though. You need 8 hunters to go into a C rank dungeon. Jinhu suggests they take a page out of Wong Dong Suk's book and hire 6 people to go with them. Since less people will actually go to the dungeon, nobody gets hurt. 19 straight dungeons without any casualties is going to look really impressive when trying to recruit people to a guild. Jinho agrees. He's going to arrange dates and recruits.
Jinnu knows how to negotiate this deal. It's like, because Jinho is really like, I don't know, like that doesn't seem like a good idea. It's like, yeah, but just think how good it would make you look. Yeah, but like he always had an answer to Jinho's like hesitations.
Jinho must have read The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. I'm kidding. Don't usually make that kind of humor here at the podcast. I couldn't resist though.
I was kind of wondering, like, the other end of this, like, okay, everything, looks great, and then we'll have, 19 dungeons with no casualties. And I think that would look kind of suspicious as well. It's like, wow, you've had no casualties whatsoever in 19 straight raids. Who all's on that team, and what are you guys doing? So that might bring some heat on them unintentionally.
If I read that, then I'd feel pretty safe with that track record. You know what I mean? Like I'd probably join up for an organization like that. Like like the record of consistent safety. That's what you want as a hunter. You want low risk, high reward.
Also fair.
But I get what you mean. Like we need to know the metrics for the other guilds.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the other guild leaders are going to be looking like, oh, who are these newbies, and how are they getting such good track records? What's going on there? Not necessarily just regular guild members, just like the other leaders are going to be looking at this new guild trying to form. Maybe there's a little unwanted competition there. They might get upset, shaking up the balance.
And nobody likes having the status quo interrupted. That's for sure. Especially when your organization is on top.
Right. So who knows?
We cut away to a blonde woman running around a track. She's approached by a man. He reveals that the woman he's talking to is Cha Hae-in, one of the 7 S-ranked people in the country. He's from Eugene Construction. His name is Yoon Bom-gil. Looks like they're trying to poach S-rank talent before a guild is even established.
We keep getting these small snippets of Cha Hae-in, and I wonder when we will get more of her. Like, not this, like, here's a small clip in this episode, here's a small clip. Like, when are we gonna see her in action? When are we gonna get like more of a plot involving her instead of just like, hey, remember this S rank hunter? Hey, remember this S rank hunter? Yeah, she might be important down the road. We just want to make sure you remember her.
If it's anything like One Piece, we'll see her again in episode 37. Or season 37, I mean.
I wonder if this poaching of S ranks is going to set off a battle between Jinho and his father though, because like Jinho has this very he has his plan, and like it's his father's just like, yeah, that's fine, but I don't want to do it. Like we're gonna go with my way.
It's an interesting thought. Well, Jinho's like, we're going to start our own guild, right? But the rest of the company's like, no, we're just going to poach an S rank who's already done 20, make them the head of the guild. You know what I mean? Like, it's we're going to skip the line. Like, why wait for you to do 20 raids? Like, we're just going to poach an S rank and form a guild now. Kind of makes sense. Well, speaking of Jinho and his father, our next scene takes us to Jinho nervously riding in a car with a man we can assume is his father. Papa Yu runs down that the dungeons have changed every single aspect of the world. Even power plants are starting to rely on materials from dungeons. He talks about the Hunter Association that handles rankings and how it's ingrained in government. He mentions how the guilds are essentially big businesses that capitalize on the need for resources found within the dungeons. We learn all of their names. These are the guilds, by the way: Hunters Guild, White Tiger Guild, Reaper Guild, Fame Guild, and Knights Guild. So, Hunters, White Tiger, Reaper, Fame, and Knights. They're essentially a monopoly who have a stranglehold on the dungeon economy. Papa Yu has decided that they will get a slice of that pie. Despite Gino being the most important piece of that puzzle since he's a hunter, he's still overshadowed by his father.
This just confirms the shrewdness of Jinho's dad. Like, I feel so bad for Jinho. Like, he's being overshadowed by his brother.
Oh,
Like,
sorry, I meant
what?
to say overshadowed by his brother, by the way, not father.
Yeah, but like, it's one thing for his dad to think like these thoughts behind Jinho's back, and even maybe talk to Jinho's brother about the same stuff. But like, to tell these things straight to Jinho's face sucks.
It seems like he's not a real nice guy, and he only cares about the money.
We cut away to Genu wrapping up his 10K run for the day. He notices a few things. The extra exercise is not counted, so doubling his workout again would have no effect. He also found that he can't choose that cursed random loot box and wonders what was in it. He activates today's regular random loot box. Inside is a used bingo card? Weird. He was hoping for another key to an instance dungeon.
What an absolute useless piece of loot.
Can you call it loot? It just seems like garbage.
I mean, loot can be garbage.
This is very. As a person who plays MMOs, loot absolutely can be garbage,
All right, fair enough. I don't play MMOs. That's not my scene.
especially when your inventory space is limited. Gino continues walking. He's now level 26 with over 5,000 HP and 500 MP. He has 71 strength, 80 agility. Noticing, by the way, that he has switched to an agility build more so than a strength build. Um, 69 nice perception, 43 vitality, 43 intelligence, and 3 unassigned ability points. He needs to find a way to level up faster, though. He recalls the penalty dungeon from when he didn't complete his daily quest. Could defeating that centipede help? He's not sure. He cannot run it easily, and if he beat it, would he even get experience? It's a penalty, so there's a chance he wouldn't. He gets a notification on his phone. There's a D rank gate looking for hunters. Should he go or pass? He doesn't want to go with a strike team, but beggars can't be choosers. He's frustrated.
I wonder if there's a level cap on each stat. Like, oh, you hit 100 strength, you can't boost your strength anymore.
I also wonder, is there a level cap? How high can he get his level? Is there a point where he's going to just stall out?
That is also a very good question.
I'm also wondering, is there an age cap? If he's a 90-year-old man, does he still have to do his daily quests or fight Seth?
Will he age with the system?
Well, that's another question, right?
Will he just be forever young and tall and ripped?
If our buddy here gets level 99, like, and he has all those stats and he has that high health bar, like, as long as he keeps doing missions, I don't see any reason how he could die because he's magically kept alive. Our guy could be immortal as long as he, runs 10 kilometers a day and does his push-ups and sit-ups.
I love that he's looking for like a new level grind. Like he's in the part of the world where he's too powerful for the easy content, but he's not quite at end game content yet either.
Tough place to be. We cut away to some people practicing kendo. It's our old pal, Chiyo Song. He's here. And he's still missing his arm. And he's still getting notifications from the association. So, they're still calling him in for gates. The person he's talking with asks him about retirement. And Chiyo Song wants to spend the rest of his days helping people. Another raid notification hits, but it's Mr. Kim's phone this time. His wife asks him if it's maybe time to consider another career. He has 2 children. He says that the dungeon was a freak situation, that the Hunter Association does a good job assessing dungeons. Are these death flags?
Absolute death flags here. But maybe they're just false death flags so Jinu can save him.
Ooh, that could be.
Yeah, like having someone talk about retirement is always a death flag. Showing someone with like happy with a wife and kids is also a death flag. Oh man. Like haven't these people been through enough with the double dungeon?
I've said it before. I'd retire after that. If you survive that ordeal, quit. Find something else to do with your life.
It's not worth it. The next scene begins with Yunho Bake speaking with fellow S rank Jong-in Choi, who is mad that Jong-in Choi set him up with that interview that we saw 2 episodes ago. He knows that the interview was originally supposed to be for Jong-in Choi, but was pawned off on Yuho Beck. The interview isn't the reason they're chatting. Jong-in Choi wants to alert Yunho Beck about something. It's about Yujin Construction's headhunting. Yunho Beck says, "What's this really about?" Jong-in Choi looks at him suspiciously and we cut to the next scene. This felt like a waste of time.
I mean, I'll never turn down a scene with Sabat in it, but I agree, Sean. This scene felt like a huge waste of time. I mean, I guess it shows that the other guilds won't be taking Jinho's dad's guild lightly with the poaching, but yeah, wasn't a huge fan of this scene.
Yeah, I'm like, this scene was 30 seconds long. Why leave me on a cliffhanger?
Yeah, if you're going to cut away, you have to have a good reason to cut away. Give me something to justify cutting away from the main character doing his thing. And we never seem to get that with these.
In the next scene, we see a phone and hear a voice coming from it. It's Juhi's mom. She's asking if everything is okay and if work has been going well. Juhi just gives one-word responses. Her mom tries to convince her that she's too frail and timid to be any good at hunting and that she should just come home and help run the family business. Juhi flips out on her, telling her that she's a grown woman and can make her own choices. I bet this isn't the first time she's wanted to do that to her mom, who seems maybe a little judgy and controlling. Juhi hangs up. She starts wondering if she gets in the way, but she really wants to try again. She's going to accept a request for that D rank gate, I'm guessing. Looks like the band is getting back together.
Band is getting back together, this time for the music. This is also definitely not the first time her mom has said these things to her. This just feels like a weekly occurrence.
You got to figure Juhi is still like, scared and confused and frustrated, and that was the final straw, and she couldn't take it anymore, so she snapped.
We see Hei and Cha pass Yunho Beck in a hallway. So Hei and Shaw's back. She walks into Jong In Choi's office. She informs him about the Eugene Construction headhunting. She turned down the offer, and then she is thanked for her loyalty and honesty. She asks what brought Yunho Baek there. We flip over to him, sitting alone at a bar. He thinks about the conversation he just had. Jong and Choi called Yunho Baek to talk about Jeju Island, which was the opening scene of the entire show. Here's that spicy lore they could have given us earlier. Jeju Island was never cleared, and Jong and Choi intends to clear it. He needs Yunho Baek at the island to help, or else they can't do it. If they clear it, they can secure total confidence from the public about the strength of hunters. He mentions that he thought that Yunho Baek would want to go back because he left something behind. They go to a quick flashback where it looks like another hunter was left behind on the island. Obviously, someone dear to Yunho Baek.
Jeju Island sounds like the perfect hunting ground for Jin Woo to level up.
I feel like this is going to be like an endgame island where he's just going to hear about it and go there and just solo the whole thing on his own.
Actually, honestly, that'd be sick if like all these guys are like Jeju Island, will we ever return? And he just like goes in one gate and maybe it's like, oh wow, what a weird gate. There's an exit on the other side instead of like, you know what I mean? Like they could use those portals or wormholes potentially, right? So then he just like pops out on Jeju Island, just starts killing stuff, and then they find him. And they're like, Gina, we thought you were dead. And he's like, I've been here by myself for 5 years killing monsters.
5 years.
I'm double S rank now.
I could see like, all these hunters getting together and they go to the island and he's just sitting on top of a pile of dead ants. He's like, yeah, I soloed this place, guys. You're too late.
They're like smoking a cigarette, like, yeah, you're late.
Walking away from the explosion.
It's time for another strange cutaway. We cut away to a dark place with a leaky pipe. A building with only one light in the room. Sorry, there's no lights in this building except for one room with a light on. A man says, I'll beg you if that's what it takes. Just please kill them. We cut away from it immediately. What the heck was that?
Th- This show loves the weird scene cuts. It's like, what is this adding? And like, even if this is played off down the road, like, who's going to remember this scene? This 10-15 second scene.
Yeah, they're clearly trying to set things up, but they're doing a bad job at it.
It's just bad flow.
Yes, absolutely. I said it before. If you're going to cut away, give us a reason. This is not a reason. This is like a piece of a reason, and we don't get a full understanding of this. So why even cut to it? There's no point.
Like, it'd be one thing if we have at least seen this man before, but we haven't. So it's like, who are you? Who do you want to be killed? And like, it's just, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't think they should be cutting to this right now. Like this should be explained later when whatever point they're trying to make here comes about. It's very bad flow. There's no reason to cut to this.
We go back to Jinu. He's working on a holiday. Gina asks if his training is going well, and if that's the reason he doesn't spend so much time in the hospital. She also asks why he's going out with no equipment, and he says not to worry about it. He leaves, and she says it's not like it's a trip to the convenience store, though D rank gate kind of is like a trip to the convenience store for Jinu. We see Chio Sung reveals that he's become a mage type hunter and has found a way to continue to fight. He and Jinu run into each other. Chio Sung really notices the difference in Jinu, new leg and all. He chalks it up to a high ranked healer in the White Tiger Guild that found them. They chat some more and find out they were called to this gate. They're in for a little reunion. Something's fishy about this. Juhi is impressed with Jinu's transformation. She reveals that she came to visit. A car's tires come up screeching. Out of the car walks three prisoners. They're escorted by a couple Hunter Association suits. A group is going to be escorted by three substitute hunters who are out on good behavior. I don't like this one bit. They're here to reduce their jail time because there are a dwindling number of local hunters available. They're being watched by a purple haired man in a suit who is an overseer from the association. That's right, we've met him before. It's Tai Kong, and he's a B rank. So, even in the worst case scenario, he can handle 3 C rank criminals with ease. Juno learned his lesson from last time and suggests that Juhi sit this one out. She asks if he's going, and he says he is. She says she's going too. The prisoners look cartoonishly like troublemakers. Taishi Kong reminds them of what happens if they step out of line. Chill Song volunteers to be leader again so he can seek redemption. He expresses his thanks to Jinu for making sure they don't party wipe. The other members reluctantly agree. The party enters the gate. We're on our way to another crazy dungeon.
I really enjoyed the awkwardness of Song Shik and Jing Ho not looking at Jinwoo after what happened the last time they raided together. And I have a bad feeling about this dungeon.
Yeah, the bad vibes are through the air. Something's gonna go down.
All right, we finished our episodes. Any general thoughts?
Hold on, I have to cut away to something else.
You have to cut back to the flashback, the recap episode.
Yes, hold on. Yeah, we got to cut back to the recap. What happened there?
Yeah, I was gonna say we should just have like a fourth person just like jump in here and be like, like a fourth there's always been the 3 of us on the podcast. Get a fourth person in here who's just like, the Anime Banter podcast, or like do weird, you know what I mean? Like say some cryptic thing for like 15 seconds and then cut back to us. Actually, that might actually build intrigue, but unfortunately for our listeners, if you wanted Anime Banter podcast like expanded lore where we tell like a weird anime like story. Sorry, I'm thinking about narrative podcasts now. I'll get back to you on this.
And back to the show.
I enjoyed these episodes, but again, the scene cuts are just out of place. There's bad flow at times. The fight with Cerberus was okay. I don't know if we're just still in that free run hangover or just things aren't clicking as much as I hope they would have. I mean, we have 4 episodes left, and so I'm really hoping things pick up in those next 4 episodes. How about you, Turtle?
I mentioned when we first started this that I have seen this before, and I'm not going to spoil anything because I hate spoilers. I've said that before as well. But my first watch through, week to week, I didn't notice a lot of these complaints that we are, uniformly having. Going back and watching it the second time here with the cutaways and that and how jarring it is, I just didn't pick up on that the first time around. So I don't know if it's the second watch through when I have some knowledge of what's going to happen, and I'm picking up on this stuff now. But yeah, the cutaways are just they're not necessary. They're trying to set things up without actually setting things up. They're just like telling you something and then walking away. I don't know. I do kind of like the show. It's not nearly as good as Free Ren by any means. They're not even close. Um, yeah, I don't know. These were just sort of okay.
Yeah, I do want to point. It's a really good point you bring up, Turtle. I'm glad we had that opinion of you like watching first, and then us deciding that we're gonna review it, and then like watching it again. And that's the. I actually love our format. Like, I love hyper analyzing things. It's really fun for me. Like at work, I'm in an analytical position, so that's just kind of like the kind of person I am. I like analyzing things. But when you do this hyper analytical recap that we do, sometimes you start to find faults in things that aren't really a big deal. Like we can rant a little bit about these cutaways, but the first time you watch Turtle, you know, you may have been half paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, like the cutaway happens, you're like, that's a cutaway. And they cut back and you're like, all right, whatever. But whenever we're going over it in this format, you're like, yeah, this is actually kind of bothersome. But as a casual watcher, you almost don't even notice it. So there is a big difference in the way that we review things versus like someone who's like has the anime up in the background while they're like playing games on their phone or something like that. You know what I mean? Very different opinion.
Yeah, and I kind of found that interesting. Like, huh? Well, I never really noticed this before, and I wonder why. Why didn't it bother me before, but it bothers me now? I don't have an answer as to why, but yes, it's much more noticeable to me on the second run through here. These cutaways that don't tell you anything, and I know what they're setting up. So like I have the insight, and I still find that jarring. Like this isn't necessary. This doesn't need to be here. It should be over here, but we're not there yet. You know. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer, but yes, they're bothering me.
And on that note, we're going to head off to our waifu of the week. We're going to start with you, Mike. Who is your waifu of the week?
I didn't feel like picking Jinu again this week just because it's the only person I picked. So we're gonna go with his sister, Gina. And it's pretty much just because she's eating the fried chicken. And I also felt bad that like Jinu was giving her shit about eating the fried chicken that he brought home for dinner. It's like, oh, don't eat too much or you're gonna get fat. It's like, she's hungry. Like, it's dinner time. She's hungry. Eat dinner.
Turtle, your waifu of the week.
This week I think these 2 episodes in comparison are a little boring, but I'm gonna go with the 3-headed doggy because he's a good boy and he's just guarding his house and he's doing the best that he can. And now he's gone, so I'm kind of sad.
And my pick for waifu of the week is the Demon. We haven't met him yet, but he has a sick castle, a loyal dog, and he has a cool potion that can heal anyone. He sounds like a role model for us all. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Solo Leveling. We hope you join us next week on episode 59 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we'll watch episodes 9 and 10 of Solo Leveling. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you're listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you